Big news that dropped on Friday. Interesting Friday news dump. The Memphis Grizzlies, with 9 games remaining in their season, fired head coach Taylor Jenkins. Nobody was shocked that Taylor Jenkins was let go. He's been there for 6 years now. You could argue that they peaked a couple of seasons ago and they've dealt with so many injuries. Maybe his message just kind of ran stale in the locker room. But to fire your coach with single-digit games left in your season, when you're fighting for a home court first-round playoff series, is truly something that I don't think I have ever seen in the history of sports. It was so shocking that immediately what I thought, and I think a lot of other people thought, was this an Ime Udoka situation? Did he do something improper off the court? Or was there an internal mutiny in the locker room where John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. went to the front office and said, we refuse to play for this guy? And all signs point to neither. This was just a bizarre, we didn't like the way we were playing and we wanted to try something different, which I totally understand. Not sure I necessarily understand it when you have, as I said, 9 games and now 8 games remaining in your season as you're trying to be a home court advantage team in round 1.
What this says to me, and I kind of said this to you yesterday off air, I think NBA GMs are power hungry. NBA front office guys want to flex their muscles more. In a way, it's like, for a while, it always felt to me as a fan that the GM in the front, the executive vice president of basketball ops, whatever your title is, de facto GM, whatever, you manage the roster, the coach coaches the team. But I'm seeing more and more from a couple moves this year that these basketball ops guys are saying, no, the whole entity is my team. I oversee the coaching and I oversee the players. And it's like, yeah, obviously, but this move in a way reminded me very much of the Luka trade as well, where Nico Harrison did something pretty rash and drastic that he probably didn't need to do during the season. And Zach Kleiman, who's I think he's the EVP of basketball ops and the GM for Memphis, kind of did the same thing, said, I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to make a move. And he has said on the record, no players came to him with this. This was entirely his decision. And to me, man, it sends a bad message because at the end of the day, this team will be in the playoffs in some capacity, but you've already waved the white flag. In the same way that trading Luka was waving a white flag. You don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. John Morant for Memphis could suddenly be healthy again, and we'll get to that in a second. You've been in the playoffs before. You can face teams that might have less experience. You might catch somebody off. You might win a series. Zach Kleiman is just looking beyond that and saying, I think we're stuck. And I'm fine firing Taylor Jenkins in the offseason. You know, they've been skidding of late. They've lost they've only won 8 of their last 20 games. They're losing by an average of 17 points in their last 5 games. So they're getting killed out there. But it's not Taylor Jenkins' fault that they're getting killed out there. You could actually say it's on the roster. And what have we said about the Memphis Grizzlies, Henry, on the show time and time again? If you're not drafted by them, you ain't playing for them. That's how it goes. Zach Kleiman has been asleep at the wheel roster-wise, and he drafts well. But he's been asleep at the wheel he's been in this role for 5-6 years. He doesn't do anything in free agency. He doesn't really make trades. And now you're being like, oh, I'm the sleeping giant who's been awoken. I'm going to fire my coach. Like that, to me, look at your training staff, your conditioning staff. Don't look at your coach.
Why are all your players injured all the
Correct.
time? Why is every single Memphis Grizzly
Injured.
all of the time?
That's the
None
issue.
of them play ever. And the thing is that Taylor Jenkins and his coaching staff adjusted this year.
Yeah.
Nobody was really playing over even 30 minutes per game, and still everyone's getting hurt. What is going on? Like,
That's the issue. We got to get to the bottom of this.
Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey had literally everybody on that has ever been associated with the Memphis Grizzlies misses at least 15 games.
Yeah.
Nobody plays a full season for them. And they deserve credit for drafting well. But you are absolutely right. They don't do anything else to help their roster. Think of all the guys, think of all the names that they've been casually discussed and linked to. You know, OG Anunoby a couple of years ago. They were linked to Mikal Bridges. They were linked to Jimmy Butler. And they never do anything. No. They never do anything. They say, no, we're going to keep our 27th overall pick and probably draft a very good player with it. But where has that gotten you? You peaked 2 years ago. Your best player, who supposedly should be your best player, even though I don't think he's your best player right now, is honestly on a decline.
Yeah,
he's injured a lot. He's injured a lot, and he's on a decline. John Morant is not the player he was a couple of seasons ago. Nope. You could say whatever you could say, the injuries, the off the court stuff. He is not the same guy that he was a couple years ago, and that means he is certainly not the guy we expected him to become. We thought by now this guy might be an MVP candidate, and now we're having conversations. Should they move him? And we're earnestly saying Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best player on this team.
Yeah.
And he is, because he's more available than John Morant. And that's hilarious to say, because even Jaren Jackson Jr. is not the most available guy.
No.
It's about as bad of a 48, 49 win team situation as you could probably have. Like, there are a lot of question marks out there. Like, if you told me I could be the general manager, have to deal with Houston's situation or Memphis's situation, Houston, 1,000 times out of 10.
But that's what we're saying is a lot of their issues are roster-based issues. They're not necessarily because they win basketball games. I'm just thinking about trades that Zach Kleiman has pulled off. He dealt one of his only available players in Tyus Jones, who in games played for Memphis played in 65, 70, 73, and 80. He got dealt to the Wizards for Marcus Smart, who has injury problems.
He was a lemon.
Nothing.
Who was a lemon, an absolute lemon. And now he's back on the Wizards because the Wizards facilitated the Kristaps trade.
And so what I look at this, if I'm the owner of the Grizzlies, and I don't think that owner wants to spend money, that just seems to be what the writing on the wall is.
I don't know if you, in the video that I did on YouTube a couple weeks ago talking about the Grizzlies front office, they have paid $500,000 in luxury tax total over the last 20 seasons.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure teams like Boston and Denver are going to be paying $50 million this year alone.
Yeah, it sounds like a Cincinnati Bengals situation to me. But that's the thing. Taylor Jenkins is a good basketball coach, and he's weathered the storm, and he has an interesting story where, like, he himself, like, didn't play, or he has a cool tale, and, like, that's great. And he's a good coach, but what do I care a lot about on this show? Marketing, perception, story. How are you coming across to your audience? The Memphis Grizzlies look like a fucking clown show. And if I'm an owner, if I'm a fan, if I'm a player, I feel like I've been left out to dry by my front office. And if there is I know there's reporting that Ja may have complained because he's playing through, and if that's true, that's a different story. But as I see it, the GM is just like, you know what? We just can't win, but you can't publicly announce that you can't win like this. And that's what Zach Kleiman did by firing Taylor Jenkins. It's abhorrently embarrassing. It's abhorrent. It's embarrassing. And we're seeing just reckless behavior. And honestly, like, it's disrespectful to fans, I would say. It really is, to just be like, yeah, you know, I want my guy as the coach, or I want my guy as the star player. It's a pissing match. It's ego driven, and it's embarrassing. Poor Memphis.